There we go. Item is called the roll. Mr. Baker. I'm here. Commissioner Bluestone. Here. Commissioner Castillo.
Here.
Commissioner McMillan. Here. Commissioner Solomon. Present. Commissioner Villanueva.
Here.
Thank you. So the next matter is the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, you all have it before you. Is there a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So
Okay, is there any opposition? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Next matter before us is the approval of the minutes of the November 3rd commission meeting. Is there a motion and a second? So moved. There's a motion and a second. Any proposed edits or other discussion? All right, is there any objection to approving the minutes of the November 3rd meeting? Hearing none, they are approved. Okay, Walker, we're going to look to you on item number 4, and that's advisory opinion 2023.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This advisory opinion draft for your consideration involves the following question. Whether CNM may purchase laptops and textbooks for use by its students without violating Article 9, Section 14 of the United States Constitution, known as the Anti-Donation Clause. The background for this request is that CNM receives federal grant funds, and the grant agreements that it has with the federal government allow it to make purchases of textbooks and laptops for use by its students. And the question is whether, since that money is now passed to the state government entity, the anti-donation clause operates to control its expenditure of those funds. The answer is that CNM is likely not subject to the anti-donation clause because it does not fall within the class of enumerated government entities set forth in the clause. Second, even if it were subject to the clause, the anti-donation clause likely does not prohibit most expenditures because CNM is receiving something of value in exchange for the federal money, namely laptops and textbooks, and it can use those things to further its educational purpose, namely the tuition of the students. So that is an overview of the draft opinion. I stand for any questions and would seek a motion to issue the advisory opinion as a formal advisory.
Thank you. Commissioners, anybody have any questions?
Very well done. Yes.
It was very well done. There being no questions, is there a motion and a second to approve the issuance of the opinion?
Move it to adopt the opinion.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Anybody opposed? Not, then the opinion is provided, get in, let it issue. Thank you. Next is Ms. Manier. There you are, hiding where you were before. Number 5, it's the advisory opinion in 2023-09. Casey, good morning.
Morning, Chair, Commissioners. We have a draft advisory opinion in front of you to be 2023-09. This request asks 2 questions. The first was whether a candidate may enter into a contract with a direct family member for goods or services to the candidate's campaign and pay the family member with campaign funds. The second question is if a candidate uses personal funds to pay a family member for goods or services to the candidate's campaign, may the candidate report the expenditure as a loan to the campaign and be reimbursed by the campaign. The Campaign Reporting Act provides that a campaign may use campaign funds to make an expenditure of contributions for expenditures of the campaign. That's been further clarified by the Secretary of State, who's promulgated a regulation that provides that expenditures that are reasonably attributable to the candidate's campaign and not to personal use or personal living expenses are permissible campaign expenditures. The regulation then has a list that are per se personal use that are not permitted under the Campaign Reporting Act. One of those items is payments to a candidate's family. The regulation has a caveat, however, which is that payments are allowed to a family member so long as two pieces are met. First, that the family member is providing a bona fide service to the campaign. And second, the payment is not in excess of the fair market value. And so taken together, these provides for two different parts. The first part is the family member providing an actual service to the campaign? Is it fairly attributable to the campaign itself? The second piece is if they are providing such a service, are they charging in excess of that fair market value? Is it that this is a way to funnel money to the family member? Is it that they're charging outrageous rates because they know the candidate? That this really curbs sort of both of those, sort of checks both of those pieces. And so the regulation is very clear that so long as both of those parts are met, that it's a bona fide service, and that it's at fair market value, such expenditures are allowable. So the second question, whether the candidate may report the expenditure of personal funds if they make that payment themselves, and may they be reimbursed by the campaign. So as the first part of that, not only may the candidate must report any sort of expenditure of personal funds used for a campaign expenditure. However, they can do so in one of two ways. One is that they can report it as a donation to the campaign. The other is they can report it as a loan to the campaign. If they do report it as a loan to the campaign, so long as they meet the requirements of the regulation about reporting it, the candidate may be reimbursed for paying personal funds to a family member for campaign services. And with that, I'm happy to stand for questions or otherwise seek a motion to issue this as a formal advice.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion?
A good opinion.
Anybody? No. All right. There being no discussion, is there any objection to the issuance of this opinion? It is hereby adopted and let it issue. Thank you very much, Casey. Good work. And the next matter is yours as well, which is our annual Open Meetings Act resolution.
Yes, your annual Open Meetings Act resolution.
Should be self-explanatory.
The Open Meetings Act requires that the commission meet annually to determine what reasonable notice what notice is reasonable for a public meeting of the commission. The resolution that you have before you substantively is very, very similar to the last two that you've done. There are a few changes that were pretty minor that really didn't deal with the notice provisions. It just cleaned up some of the language to reflect both the language of the law as well as some things that aren't happening at the commission anymore. For example, there was language in there about if the commission's website isn't available, to post it on DFA's website, which really came from the origins of this commission before it had a website. And so things like that have been just cleaned up a little bit. The notice remains the same, as they said, that meetings will be held every other month, that those will be at the call of the chair, that an agenda will be available 72 hours prior to the meeting. For any other meetings, notice will be given 10 days in advance, and for situations where immediate action is necessary to protect health, safety, and property of citizens, or to protect the public body from substantial financial loss. Emergency meetings may be held on 24 hours notice and must be reported to the Attorney General's office within 10 days. The other change in this, initially it required specific language about what accommodations are available under the Americans with Disabilities Act. A lot of those really aren't relevant in a virtual meeting. So it was things like a magnifier, an amplifier. And so because of that, the language now in the resolution itself just says that the commission will continue to comply with the ADA. If someone seeks accommodations, the commission will, of course, do its best to make those accommodations available. And that, for example, in a meeting like this, there might be different avenues that are available than in person. And so other than that, it's remained the same, and we would seek a motion to adopt this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion, a second
So
to
moved.
adopt? Thank you. Any further discussion or questions, commissioners? Hearing none, I'll ask for adoption. Is there any objection? Okay, the resolution is adopted. Thank you very much, Casey, for your good work. The next matter of the meeting, Jeremy, is it not? Yeah, the annual report.
Thank you, Chair. This is, as you know, the reason why it's at the meeting today. We, the commission has a statutory duty to provide the governor and legislature an annual report each year, which the commission reports on its activities of the year and proposes any legislative recommendations it has going into the session. And so you have in your materials the commission's 2023 annual report. I'll just hit the highlights. This has been the most interesting year of the commission by far. And I think that Governor Carruthers probably said it the best when he wished him well down in Las Cruces, that the commission has concluded its first chapter. It's now moving into its second chapter. And I think the commission did that in 2023 for a number of reasons. So first, just kind of thinking about the organizational stability of this agency. In 2023, we were able to add a little bit of depth in the ASD side. So we now have Sharon, who's the financial coordinator, who reports to Wendy. And so all of our human resources and finances don't just fall on one person. And if Wendy has to take some time, we're okay. We're not in a crisis. And so we have more stability in terms of the footing of this agency. We're up to a budget that's beginning to look like a real agency. We currently have funding for 9 employees. Very shortly, we'll be recruiting for the 9th employee. And our financial position is very strong. That the redacted part of the annual report that you have before you, Commissioner Baker had asked me about this. That's redacted because we can't say in open session the results of our FY23 audit until OSA gives us approval to do that. And we've asked for expedited approval. And I don't intend to share the commission's annual report with the governor and the legislature until OSA gives its approval for us to report on our good financial position. In 2023, the commission did a lot of work. So we are up to we've received 59 administrative complaints this year. That's a dozen to 20 more than last year. The commission issued 9 advisory opinions, 33 advisory letters. Every day we have more and more work. And this year we had some really important advisory opinions, some relating to procurement, others related to the Campaign Reporting Act. And the commission was engaged in some very significant civil enforcement actions this year. 3 involving local elected officials and an enforcement action that you authorized involving the governor and HSD and our state's largest contracts. And so what we're reporting on to the governor and the legislature is I think what Governor Carruthers said, is that we've come out of the first chapter and the commission is now beginning to look like a real and significant agency. So commissioners, you have it before you. There's also the legislative recommendations. The most important to note there is continued pushing on the Governmental Conduct Act reform bill. That was HB 5 last session. It passed the House unanimously. We did not have time for that bill to get a hearing in the Senate or in Senate Judiciary by the time it came over to the Senate. And linked in the annual report is a letter that I wrote to the governor, care of her general counsel, Ms. Ekajanian, asking for a message. If the governor would be willing to give that bill a message and perhaps starting it on the Senate side. Senator Tallman has indicated his interest to do that. And so that's where that stands. I've communicated with Ms. Ekajanian about that request and it's still pending. And so that's the main legislative recommendation that's there in your annual report. And with that, Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker,
No questions.
Commissioner Liston?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jeremy. The report is excellent. As you said, we had a very busy and productive. I know that there's always an interest in trying to get word out to the public too about the work of the commission. And wondering if you would consider doing an op-ed summary of the commission's work for the last year based on the annual report to just let the public know about the work of the commission. That a good use of commission resources and time to get the word out about efforts of the commission, which I agree with. Important and substantial job. So I'd like you to consider that. With respect to the legislative priorities for the next session, I'm glad that you sent that letter to the governor. And I'm happy to hear that Senator Tallman has at least expressed interest in sponsoring the Governmental Conduct Act. I imagine it's going to take a lot more follow-up work to see if a message will be issued to make that journey in the upcoming session. But I wonder, have you been considering approaching other legislators to enlist their support to ask the governor for messages for the other matters, like disclosure act?
I've spoken about that with Senator Tallman, and the result of that discussion was let's see about the Governmental Conduct Act. I'm the thinking that it's unlikely that we would get messages for both, and trying to focus efforts on what's most likely in a 30-day session. And the fact that 8-5 passed the House unanimously gives us a kind of argument to where this could be possible if the governor supported it with her message from the start and side. So that's the thinking, was that let's ask the governor for one message on one bill.
And assuming there is no message, are you already making plans for contacting key legislators about both bills for the next session?
I am, and I've spoken with the executive team at the Attorney's Office about that, and who might be identified as sponsors for the Governmental Conduct Act bill, of which they're most interested. And with respect to the other bills, Senator Tallman has announced that he won't be seeking re-election, and have gone through an election before we get to the next 60-day session. So, obviously leadership is always priority, but we don't have the full picture yet.
I think it would be good for you to start thinking about how to reach out to leadership on both sides of the aisle on those issues. And I know we've had discussions in the past about the Disclosure Act in particular, and I know that there have been some objections that you've explained to us before. Still seem to be with the right contacts and the right work that we could reach some kind of compromise that we can move that forward. Because we do have a lot of work to do to provide meaningful financial disclosures of our laws. I know you agree with that.
Sure. Anyone else?
No, I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you. I think it's an outstanding report. It does show how much the commission does, and certainly how much the staff works to make sure all of this happens. I also like the organization because for me, it's easy to. So thank you. Thank you. And
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just to also give an accolade to all of you for putting this together, especially you, Jeremy, for an excellent report to the legislature, outlining, I think, the legislative agenda so that we can know when to open our house too, because there's sometimes that we're up there too in the mix, and these things do come up, and it's always nice to have at least some background of what it is that we're pursuing in case the opportunity comes up to advocate for it as well. Thank you.
Commissioner McMillan. Commissioner Villanueva?
No other comments other than to say thank you so much to Jeremy and the staff. Good report.
Thank you. And I will for those sentences. Is there a motion and a second to adopt and issue the annual report as provided to us?
Second.
Thank you. Any opposition to the motion? All right, motion carries unanimously. Shooting again. Yes, thanks very much, Jerry. Those of you contributed. Next, we move to public comment. This is the pre-closed session. We will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Jane, you got any takers?
There's no one in the meeting. There's no one here.
We're on our own.
Well, it's a good thing we passed that open meeting. Okay, in which case Chair will entertain a motion, a second to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Any opposition? Hearing none, we are now moving into closed session. And if you'll go ahead. What you need to do. Staff, you know the drill.
Thanks, Walker.
I know, exactly.
Jeremy?
Go ahead, Judy.
Jeremy? Hi, Jeremy, I'm being told that the link is to the 11 o'clock meeting is not working, as I found it wasn't working for me either.
The same one that I had sent to you, Villanueva from ours, so it should be working for members. It's the same one that I've sent to you.
Judy, there's two different links on the meetings page. And try to ask that person to scroll down the meetings page and find.
There we are.
We are back. Session. First item is item number 12, administrative matters under the law. Becky.
Yes, Chair, Commissioner, staff requests approval of the settlement agreement in 2023-03 Notary Public.
Motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker?
Approved.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva? I saw you say yes, even though I didn't hear you. There we go. Thumb up and the chair votes yes. Thank you, Becky. Item number 13.
Good, thank you, Chair. Commission staff seeks dismissal of claims in administrative case 2023-20 that are outside of the commission's jurisdiction.
Thank you. Motion and second.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion?
Do we need to clarify these are a part of the claims, but not all of the claims?
It's so clear, Commissioner Bushna, and also Chair Commissioner Villanueva is recused. So
Fine. Thank you. Okay, with that clarification, is there any other discussion? Thank you. Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva is recused. Chair votes yes. The motion carries. Item 13, what are we supposed to do?
yes, thank you, Chair. In this matter, the commission staff seeks dismissal of the administrative complaint 2023 for lack of jurisdiction.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Any discussion? There, well, I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner McMillan?
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Villanueva is recused,
Yes.
right? And Commissioner Solomon votes yes. Thank you. Chair votes yes. Sorry about that. All right, motion carries. The next matter up is that for discussion, the next meeting February 2nd would be the next national day, which is a Friday. Anybody opposed to that?
I'll just say for the record that February 2nd is my 50th wedding anniversary.
We bring the long-suffering Mrs. Baker in college for penance all these years.
And as she has been since it's Groundhog Day.
Exactly.
She's
This
like-
could go on and on and on.
Exactly.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, so the next matter is set for 9 AM on the 2nd, and unless we hear otherwise, it will be a Zoom meeting. And by the way, thanks everybody for making it here that could. Judy, we certainly understand your hesitation and inability, given the press of weather and other such things for you to get up. We miss you live and in person. Public comment, Jane?
There are no members of the public joining the Zoom, and there's.
All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
holidays, everybody.